Right. So this is how generally these configurations and all everything we do, especially on Jira, because Jira is a project management tool by itself, which will be used to track the progress of the work. At the same time, it is being used to manage teams to performing activities like burn-down charts, burn-up charts, all these things. So in this especially, Jira administration is something essentially important to configure the application according to the requirements of the project, what is that we are doing, especially on Jira, right? So wherein we can go for audit logs because whatever the activities in using this Jira application we are developing. So all these things can be updated using this audit log function, right? So this audit log majorly useful for us to understand about whatever the logs we are means what are the activities we do, everything will be considered as log file, right? So you can audit, right? So you can audit the log, right? So all these things can be done here, right? So this is all something relating to the supportive part. So the same log you can see when we are going for dashboards, therein we can see there, right? So whatever the activities we do and all everything that we can see even there. At the same time, when it comes to the security part, here we need to mention over the project roles because we need to mention the roles. For example, I'm mentioning a role called an architect. Develop solution for the project, right? So that's what I have taken, right? So add project role is what I did, right? So there are different roles you can see. You can see here. So there is an active this thing an architect and all where we can add them to the project roles, right? So different things, right? So these are the two things which you can see administrator and all that. So and we can see all that, right? So that is also one of the key and prominent element which we have to be added whatever it is required and all everything that we can be added, right? So that is one thing which we can do in reference to the whatever the rules we have and all. So those rules can be used. Whatever the rules do we using and all everything. So those rules we can to be updated, right? So this whatever the architect rules do we have, right? So all these roles can be here and here. So for example, if there is an administrator role there here, you can see view usage where you can see there are some permissions we have to provide for that. So there are default permission schemas which are available here where you can see default. Yeah. So this is where generally the default permission schemes are. So this we have to administer, right? So for example, if you want to have any permissions and all, here you can see grant permission, right? So if you want to update administer projects, you can see here, right? So to whom are we giving these updates? For example, administration project permissions we are giving for a project lead. Okay, that's what we are giving. Yeah, so only project lead we are giving, right? So we can update it, right? So here you can see project lead is what generally the updation is what we have made, right? You can see over here. So project lead is what generally we have updated. For example, if you want to browse the projects, right? So if you want to browse the projects and all, who can browse the projects? Project role can be played, administrators. At the same time, even single user, uh, whoever they are, project lead and current assignee, right? So for example, use custom fields, right? So I will use it. All right, approvers, all right. So that is very generally. So this we can update it, right? So that is one thing. Yeah, right. So this is one thing wherein we can update, right? So you can see here, project lead is what generally browse projects, any logged user or a project lead. So these are the two people who will be using. So this is how generally the permissions we have to complete. So whenever we are working on the project, It is always important for us to add the rules, but of course, as in when I'm using the cloud trial version, because adding new roles and all everything might be something restrictive, because cloud version, free versions may not have that facility to add roles, all that. But when we are using full versions, full version of Jira, yes, we have that facility. That is what last sometime back I have told you, right? In reference to the architects and all everything is what I have explained it to you, right? So this is what, so this is how generally these default permission schemes and all everything. Next, when it comes to issue of permissions, right? So issue of permissions like assign issues, right? So update, assign issues to the current assignee, right? So because whoever is using that current assignee, we are assigning issues to the current assignee, right? So this is what we have taken. For example, if you want to create an issue will be given for a person who will be a project role person, administrator. It's not only administrator, we can add multiple roles. That's what I said 2 minutes back, right? So you can add roles, but restriction is that as it is a cloud application, it doesn't allow to add new roles on that. But whereas in full versions, we have, because procedure remains same, you can add as many roles as we can. At the same time, single user project lead, right? So create an issue, current assignee, update, right? So this is how generally creation of issues. So this is how generally all these will be updated over here. Means, for example, if you want to delete an issue, let's say, for example, this we are giving only to the project lead, or is this we are giving only for an administrator to perform, right? We are not giving anything. So you can see, right? So this is how generally administrator uh, delete an issue, right? So delete an issues or something like we have given only for administrators to do that. So this is how generally the basic understanding over administrative activities when we are performing is what we have to perform it. So apart from that, if you want to update the issue hierarchies, right? So if you want to add any update hierarchies, all that, right? So this is how generally the hierarchy is like. First of all, epics, nothing but large scale of solutions. All these were followed by epics. We have user story, because whatever the short description of requirement we are writing on, that is what we call it as story. And that story, if you divide into minimize it so that we can call it as task or a subtask where we can do the changes accordingly. Right? So we can apply the changes here. Right? So applying changes 100%. Right? Your issue type hierarchy has been updated. Right? So this is what it was. Now, for example, if you want to add some issue types, different issue types we want to add. What are that? Epics, user stories, subtasks, right? So we may have tasks, we may have technical debts, we may have bugs. So different issue types we have. If you want, we can add some issue types to the existing Jira board, right? So that we can do it. You can click on issue types, right? So issue types, we can add issue type. Here you can, for example, bugs, right? So this is what I have taken. Bugs is what an issue I have taken. For example, task. I have taken task. Subtask earlier it was. I have added task also. Next, after that, technical debt. Technical debt is what I have taken. Right. So here, this is how generally these updations like adding issue types, all these things we can do it. Next, issue type schemas, right? So if you want to update any issue type schemas and all that, yeah, add issue type schema. Schema name we have to provide, right? Issue type resolved. Right. So resolved is what generally, right? So okay, right. So it's that's okay. Issue type none, right? So available issue types are this, and we can create a schema which is called resolved, all that, right? So resolved is a schema which we have taken, right? So that's what we have taken. So available issue types, for example, right? So if you want, for example, technical data is what generally we are adding on, right? So technical dates and all, everything we are adding on. Yeah, so here you can see, right? So resolved is what generally the schema we have created for technical date. Means if you want to add any issue types, like for example, um, hold, right? So hold, right? So this is what we have taken, hold for bugs, right? So hold, this is for bugs. Means if you want to edit or associate or something like everything of that sort, so this is how we can, right? Associate this bug, right? So to whom it was and all everything is what we have to see. This is how generally an administrative of an activity, wherein by administrating the project on a high level mode, followed by issue types, issue hierarchies, etc., will be used, especially when we are working on Jira. These are all the administrative activities. These are the activities are essentially useful for the people who wants to make a career in Jira administration. So this is all about this video. If you have any questions, if you have any queries, please reach out to the contact details, which will be posted in below to this video. Thank you.